Okay, and we are live. Welcome to another episode of All Things Xbox podcast. Once again, I have Logan with me. Logan, how you doing? Because it's been a few weeks.
Doing great, Jamie. Glad to be back, man. How are you, man?
Sweating, melting in the heat. I'm a pale British person from the northeast of England, so dealing with all this stuff's kind of over the top. like you've probably seen it online. Like British people complain about the weather all the time.
I
Um,
mean, I think it's just a human nature thing. Like down here in the South, we're used to pretty hot, but then we go up north, and I'm like, man, it is freezing. And then there's people walking around with tank tops and shorts and like super cold weather, like it's nothing. So I guess we all just get used to what's in our area, particularly.
Yeah, but outside of that, gaming news is kind of would normally be slow if there hasn't been an E3 type thing. But over the past few weeks, there's actually been a lot of gaming news, a lot of small stories, and yeah, we'll just get straight into it. But I will say this: uh, I'm going to rant a lot in this podcast because Square Enix has had their showcase in the past few weeks, and well, we all know what happened there. And if you've been following for a while, you know that I complain about Square Enix a lot, and I think it's like a bi-weekly basis thing now at this point. But this one's definitely worth it because the whole Final Fantasy thing I'll be getting into in a bit, and like just I'm angry, but that will be later on. But yeah, the first thing we're going to talk about is Battlefield. Battlefield 2042 had a huge, colossal disaster of a launch, unfortunately. And as a fan of the Battlefield franchise, I've seen it go downhill over the years. They seem to not know how to carry forward the franchise without stealing or copying ideas from other franchises that people don't want. Like Call of Duty is Call of Duty for a reason. People love that. Halo is a reason for that, and people love that. But Battlefield, it's just like they stealing, bits of Warzone and bits of Overwatch, and it's like it just doesn't work. So, they've been churning out little tiny bits of content, and season one, I believe, has just started. So good for them. They have a new map, I believe. But the story I'm talking about today is that they're coming out basically telling us that they are going to be working on a new single player campaign for a future Battlefield release. And now I know that Battlefield's biggest problem isn't the single player. It's the multiplayer, it's the thing that people play for months and months. But for me personally, I love first person shooter campaigns. I don't know why, I find them extremely relaxing in a world where all these games are open world now. Like literally everything that comes out now is pretty much open world. So these little single player first person experiences I like to play in between open world games. Well, it's pretty much confirmed now that we are getting a single player campaign for the next game. And honestly, I'm hyped. Like, who knows what the state of the multiplayer is going to be like in a few years' time whenever that game launches. But I love the idea that they're going back to making campaigns again. Because if you remember, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 didn't have a campaign, it was just 100% multiplayer. And they dropped support for that game, it seemed pretty quickly. And then the following Battlefield, what do you know, had a campaign. Well, it looks like Battlefield's doing the same. And honestly, I think fans see the value in a campaign, even though they might be playing, the multiplayer for the next 2 years. I don't know. But Logan, what do you think of that? Because campaigns, I love them. What about you?
I'm a big campaign guy personally, myself. Like I snobbish or not, I do kind of look at a shooter differently if it doesn't have a single player campaign. Like, I like multiplayer facets of games like Halo, I play multiplayer all the time, but I am hugely invested in the story and campaign and always do that first and always do my legendary runs and co op and this and this. And then I do the multiplayer on the side. So to me, a game feels diminished personally if it doesn't have a campaign, if it has multiplayer elements as well. Um, so when like you brought up Black Ops 4, I was hugely disappointed when they didn't have a campaign for that because I loved the other Black Ops games. They were wild and zany and conspiracies and um, cover ups and like what do the numbers mean, Mason, and all this, and then all of a sudden they drop campaign, and then Battlefield 2042 and its cluster clut launch has not had a campaign, and not that a campaign would have saved it, but it certainly wouldn't have hurt having something to do with in the game. And like you, like I like not overworld. I like open world games, but it gets to a point where if every single bloody game is an open world game, they don't doesn't feel unique or real anymore. It just feels like, oh my gosh, I have to go to point A to point B. I gotta go talk to this guy. I gotta go fetch this. I gotta take care of this stereotypical amount of enemies over here so that it can cause an encounter over here and then open up this region. It starts becoming formulaic. But man, I really did love, growing up, the era where, we had Modern Warfare 1, 2, 3, those blockbuster games. Those campaigns were awesome. Like 10 to 20 or so hours of just nonstop, balls to the wall, just super intense campaign, like, Michael Bay levels of action, shoot 'em ups, and like crazy story, plot, characters, gunplay, action, everything and just crammed into these campaigns, memorable characters, you know, different locales for each different mission. You go around the world, do different things, and the world felt so big, yet it was directed because you have go to your certain location and you do your thing, and then you go to a different mission. And I honestly have missed that, and I'm glad to see that starting to come back a little bit.
Yeah, I think they must have taken some of the feedback, seriously because the campaign, like, I pretty much buy these first-person shooters now for the campaign, and I play them a lot. Like, I've played probably Infinite Warfare's campaign maybe 5 times now. I just love it, and it's a good way to like space out open world games because that way you don't get burnt out. But like the reason I hype up these like linear experiences now, it's because the only people that really make linear games in 2022 is Microsoft, Sony, and Focus Home Interactive. That's pretty much it. Everything else has gone open world. And during the Xbox 360 era, we were getting like linear first-person shooters all the time. Call of Duty, Battlefield, Homefront, Medal of Honor. The list goes on. There was like a ton. Like I think there's one called Fall of Liberty during the early 360 days. Basically, there was a lot of first-person shooters in the 360 generation that were just single player, you know. And even if it did have a multiplayer, like the people would talk about the campaign. Like you were saying, like Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3, people talked about those campaigns for months because they were damn good. And Black Ops, like with Mason and the numbers, like I love that. Like Black Ops is my favorite franchise, I should say sub-franchise of like, Call of Duty. And Black Ops 2 came around and they did a lot with that. That campaign is phenomenal as well. But, I think like just like dipping away the campaign to like save money is just going to hurt them in the end run because like when they announced Battlefield 2042 wasn't going to have a campaign, I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to buy it. And that first trailer came out and I thought that game looked amazing. Just purely multiplayer, but I don't know. I think it's just these companies learning, still. I know EA has had a lot of mishaps in the past, but it's a good sign going forward. And honestly, I will look forward to playing more first-person shooter campaigns, especially set in the Battlefield universe. Before we continue to the next topic, just want to say that if you're enjoying the show, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps all that stuff out. If you want to support the channel, super chats are now open because I figured out how to work all that stuff. Anyway, we'll continue. Next topic I want to talk about Skull and Bones. That thing's been missing for years. I think it was announced in 2017, something like that. It was a long time ago. And it looked really cool. Very minimalist HUD. And honestly, I was really sold on the idea. And they said back then it was pretty much an online multiplayer experience. Oh yeah, just want to say, if you're new to the show, we do actually do a lot of topics throughout the show. So the big stuff like, the Square Enix stuff, all that stuff will be later on, Halo, Xbox and stuff. But there's a lot of third-party games coming, we need to talk about it. Anyway, Skull and Bones. I think it looks interesting. And they came out with a gameplay re-reveal a few days ago. And by the way, Logan, did you watch it?
I have not watched the latest, but I've had a lot of reactions and posts and stuff, and I my hope for it has gone up. I'm all for new pirate games. Like it felt like we had a dearth of them for so long. Like there was hardly anything pirates related. Then Sea of Thieves is very much a huge thing, but it occupies kind of one category, kind of one area of pirate fantasy, and then Assassin's Creed Black Flag and Rogue, they seem to really hit home the pirate thing, but they're in they're in the Assassin's Creed universe, so the idea of a more traditional pirate experience, but shared like this sounds really good to me.
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw, it does have some downsides, but like you were saying, like the pirate space in gaming is pretty much empty. You have Sea of Thieves, and that's pretty much it. There was a game in, I think it was 2011 called Risen 2. That was pirate based, but outside of that, like nobody uses pirates. And I think the same goes for the cyberpunk genre. Nobody really talks about that. There's very few titles cover that subgenre, but Skull and Bones, I think it looks really cool. It's the same premise. It's a solo or multiplayer centric game. There isn't a single player campaign, but you can do the whole game in solo, which is pretty cool. And it's the same thing. It's more of a pirate experience, whereas I think Sea of Thieves is I'm trying to think how to put it. Like Sea of Thieves is very minimalist. Like I love the hood in that game. It's next to non-existent. You literally just sail around, get treasure, and it works for the game. That's why there's millions of people that play it. But for this, it's on about building your ship and your crew, and stealing other ships, basically inventory and stuff. And it's a cool idea. The only downside, and I think a lot of people are talking about this, and it was the only thing I picked up from the gameplay that's negative, is the hood. Oh my god. Right. So if you've been playing Elden Ring or anything like that over the past few months, there was a meme going around and it was if Ubisoft made Elden Ring, and it was like just a screenshot of Elden Ring with like a splattered hood everywhere. And it was like kind of like, yeah, Ubisoft hoods are pretty bad. And I love a lot of Ubisoft games. Far Cry, Splinter Cell, Ghost Recon, Assassin's Creed, the list goes on. I love their games. But their hoods and user interfaces are absolutely horrendous. And this was just more of that. The hood they showed in 2017 looked phenomenal. Very good, very slim and sleek. This was just horrible, all over the place. But outside of that, I think it looks pretty cool. I just think, people need to stop, combating franchises. Because the second that gameplay came out, I saw the whole, Sea of Thieves is done. Everyone's going to move to this. And I saw that, this game's going to be screwed because Sea of Thieves is so popular. It's like, why do we have to be living in a world where people have to choose one or the other? Like, there's two, when this game comes out, there's going to be two active pirate games out. At all, ever. Like, I don't know what's your thought on that, because people are just combating the whole thing, and, Sea of Thieves is done, Skull and Bones is dead day one. I don't know, man. It's just a weird situation.
Yeah, I mean that the whole logic of that's kind of goofy to me. Like I would get it if there was literally like we talked about the open world thing earlier, where like if every game out there is open world now, it's like, oh yay, another open world game. At least come on, do something that at least differentiates it. But there's like hardly any pirate games out on the market at all, and you know this one has a lot more grounded in realism and just a different vibe and aesthetic completely than the fun, whimsical, kind of Disney esque, um, Sea of Thieves and other stuff like that. And they both have their charms and their um, positives that they bring, and that it's for different experiences. And so I totally don't think they cannibalize each other at all. Matter of fact, I think they'll help each other because, you know, you see one pirate game doing well, and then another one starts doing well, and then it creates more interest and more development, and it reinvigorates the industry and some more creativity. So I only see it as a positive thing to have another big pirate game out there. I hope it succeeds.
Yeah, I mean, like, as much as the thing is, I loved Assassin's Creed 4, right? That game sold, I think it was over 14 million copies. It was ridiculous, and it's a phenomenal game to this day. Um, She's not only just said in chat, didn't they say it has a campaign? So, from what I gathered from the gameplay, it's just one of those experiences that keeps going on, right? It's a kind of a live service game where you can also play solo. And the thing I like to akin to that is that Star Trek Online, the MMO, right? You can play that entire campaign is like, I think it's like 100 hours long or something. I've put about 50 hours into it. You can put 100 hours into that game without paying a penny, and it's all single player, like all of it. Like you can play that entire experience solo if you want, or you can play it in co-op and multiplayer. So from what I got from this is that it's kind of like that. It's, the MMO light situation, like a Destiny or something. But I didn't get the impression that it's going to have a traditional, here's the campaign mode and here's the multiplayer mode. But, I'm going to give it a shot. I think they're going to do playtesting before release. It comes out this November, which I'm shocked because a lot of people for the longest time thought this game was done. But, they've been hiring a lot recently for it, for the marketing team and stuff. But I have high hopes, I think that as soon as people see how it plays, they'll be willing to invest the money into it. However, this is one of those $70 titles, and we will be talking about the whole $70 thing later in the show, because I think it's a bigger topic people need to talk about. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And again, I'll post on Twitter when the play testing goes live and what platforms it's on. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I think we'll have to move on to another Ubisoft thing. Actually, no, I want to rant about something, and I think some people may have seen this. Logan, are you aware of what NFTs are?
Yeah, no freaking thanks.
Yeah. Well, I'm not exactly a fan of them. I don't like that crypto stuff. Like, if people want to get into crypto, all that stuff, good on them, whatever. But like, as soon as they start injecting this crap in video games, the thing I like to, immerse myself into and escape, that's where it goes all wrong for me. Well, anyway, about a week ago on Twitter, a random company out of nowhere announced a brand new console, and it's going to be called the Podium 1, and it's an NFT-based console about Web3 gaming. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have, and it's just I don't have high aspirations for that thing.
Yeah, so when they came out, they announced it with this basically, and I'll just read out all the stuff, and it's laughable, really. We are introducing. Oh, by the way, I know this is not a fanboy related podcast, but we're going to make fun of this console because it shouldn't exist. We are introducing the Podium 1, a multi-chain console for Web3 gaming, and these are the features listed: fingerprint scanner, wallet button for quick access to your wallet while in a game, haptic feedback, headphone jack for voice chat, sensitive touchpad. And it just gets worse. They promised 8K gaming at 120 FPS, ray tracing and HDR. The console is about the same size as an Xbox Series S, actually a little bit smaller. It sounds really realistic, I know. But honestly, I just think like these companies trying to inject themselves into gaming with NFTs, man, like it's really unrealistic. Like, they shouldn't be doing this. Like when you sell a console idea on a wallet button, like, you're doing it for the wrong reason at that point. Like, what the point? The point of in gaming is enjoyment, having fun, immersion, new gameplay experiences, stories that can't be told in other forms of media. Like Mass Effect. I don't think Mass Effect would work in a movie, but I love the video games. But the fact that this console, they're selling it on NFTs, blockchain, Web3 gaming, like, you see all that metaverse stuff on like Facebook, and it's super cringe. Nobody wants that stuff, but they're trying to sell us on it, and it's like nobody's falling for it. And that's the thing. Like, gamers on all fronts weren't having a thing about it. Like, they were making fun of it, and the developers of the console, the adamant, they're like, we're going to get this console out, and they have a roadmap, right? Their roadmap basically includes, marketing for the console next year. They're going to come out with a prototype next year, and then they're going to come out with a console that you could buy in like 2024. So it's years away. But it's stupid that these companies are coming out trying to push this stuff. And like, if someone wants to get into, maybe like Web3 gaming or all that stuff, like, that's an option. But like, this is forcing it. We've been complaining about DLC, microtransactions, for over 15 years. Ever since we saw the horse arm in the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, people have been complaining ever since, as we should, call out these things. But this console was basically created on the idea of you having access to your wallet at all times. And the thing is, and I'm going to defend Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo here, this console rips off a ton of different things from other companies, right? So the D-pad is ripped off from PlayStation. PlayStation, their D-pad is literally patented to them. Nobody else can copy it. They used the Apple fingerprint scanner name, Touch ID. They had to change it because they knew they would get sued to hell by Apple. And the touchpad also kind of stole from PlayStation. The controller itself, it has flat sticks. It's just a terrible console. And honestly, I think people should just maim this to hell and get them out of existence. Like, if people want to buy crypto as it's fallen and all that stuff, fine, that's your money. But this console is made for the wrong effing reason. And it just needs to go away. Like, did you see anything else on it? Or just, like, the memes about it?
I haven't seen too much about it except, like you said, people just going like, "Oh, really? Really is what you're gonna try to do?" It feels like the NFT flavor of the week thing. Like, I had a post about it earlier today, but GameStop is now going to, like, you saw the other day that they just laid off a ton of employees and people at Game Informer and all this other stuff. They're having all this budget issues, and lo and behold, their last ditch effort to try to come up with some huge revenue saving plan is to launch an NFT marketplace for GameStop. I'm like, are you serious? Like, what are you doing? It's like, I don't know. I NFTs to me, like, if you like them, cool. Like, it's your business, it's your money, whatever. But it just to me, it just doesn't seem like a very sound, logical plan as a last ditch effort for a company to me.
Yeah, and it's kind of hilarious at the same time because when they announced the console, they came out with a logo, and it was so original. It was a cube, but with a P in the middle. It was directly ripped off from a GameCube logo. It was literally copying it one for one, basically. But their excuse on Twitter was that, oh no, it's not the same because it's a P instead of a G. It's like they are literally clowns. And honestly, I hope Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo crush them to live in hell because we don't need this crap in gaming. And yeah, I mean, look, I'll read out some of the tweets from them. A lot of criticism, mixed reviews. Web3 gaming will be here to stay and it will be the future. We will have functional prototypes ready before we take any pre-orders or funding. Let's clear some things up. And it's like, it's just ridiculous. Like, people don't want this stuff in gaming. And the ironic thing about this console that's selling NFTs and this stuff, the photos for video games on their store, or should I say, like the prototype store, they've stole art from other companies. There's so much irony in that. It's beautiful. People complain about NFTs because you can take screenshots of them. There's no actual digital ownership. And then here they are stealing other developers' art that they don't own and basically putting their own name on it. It's hilarious. It's hilarious because it's just so much irony, and I hope they get buried because honestly, I can't stand these companies pushing this crap. The creator of Ninja Gaiden, his new studio, is focused on blockchain. Like, like nobody wants this crap, and I think it's all gonna fail. But anyway, we'll move on. So anyway, Nacon. Right, Nacon, small publisher, they come out with some hardware and video games like fighting sticks and all that stuff. Well, they had a live show the other day, and basically they came out and announced Robocop, Rogue City. Now, I want to put this out there, the reaction to the game. Did you see the trailer, by the way?
I have not, but I saw a lot of people on my timeline super pumped. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest Robocop guy in the world, but I saw a lot of people were happy, and I'm happy for them that it seems like there's something out there to get some genuine enthusiasm.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had a Robocop game since, I think, 2002, and it was a crappy first-person shooter on the original Xbox, and it looked like a Nintendo 64 game. It was probably made for the Nintendo 64 and they ported it probably, but this looks good. But you were saying, like, people are hyped for it. Like, we haven't had a AAA or even AA, like, Robocop game pretty much ever. I mean, there was the one on the Nintendo Entertainment System that was crushingly hard. Like, I remember playing that as a little kid, and I don't think I ever got past the second level. But this looks good, and this is by the developers of Terminator Resistance. Now, I'm bringing this up because people have reactions to video games when they see them, positive and negative, and people lost their minds. Because people are angry about the Terminator Resistance situation. That game came out at the back end of 2019 in the UK and came out in the US in early 2020, and people liked it. Underrated. I reviewed it on the channel. I really loved that game. That game was better than it had any right to be. Well, the thing is, this game is made by the same company, so why are people complaining? Well, it turns out that the PlayStation 5 got a upgrade for Terminator Resistance. Right, but the Xbox didn't. Now, people are complaining, rightfully so, and the thing is, I kind of figured it out that it's the publisher, right? All these decisions are made by the publisher, but this has been developed by the same studio, but published by someone else. A studio that actually pumps more money. Like most people have not heard of Reef Entertainment. That was the publisher of Terminator Resistance, but this is Nacon. So I think people should be okay. It's coming out the Xbox Series X and S. It's coming to the Switch. I think that will be the cloud version and the PlayStation 5 and PC. And it looks super good. Like, if you like 80s Robocop grittiness, like, this is that. It's gory. Really gory, actually. You see heads explode and everything. But it looks really good. And it comes to Xbox and other platforms next year. But I love the fact now that we've seen these licensed games that actually look really good. Like I was saying, Terminator was good. This Robocop game looks good. The Lord of the Rings Gollum game basically looks like sticks with a Lord of the Rings skin. But like, I like the idea of these licensed games having really cool, new games. Like, you've probably noticed this, right? That licensed games are kind of coming back after an entire generation when they were missing, because during the 360 generation, we were getting movie tie-ins, licensed games almost every other month.
Yeah, I missed that era, honestly. I'm a sucker for movie tie-in games because, like, they would often have, like, you replay something from the movie, but then there's a little scene or something added context differently to where it adds a little bit more story or a little more to the experience, and it fleshes it out more. And they were often cheesy, but they were a lot of fun. And then, like you said, recently we've been just having kind of hitting a golden era of licensed games, whether it's Telltale doing, their adventure games, or Star Wars is finally hitting its groove again with gaming, with Fallen Order, and hopefully the remake for Knights of the Old Republic and some other stuff going forward, and, Lord of the Rings and the Batman games. So I'm really happy, and I hope it continues, and I hope this trend stays strong, because I think the entertainment industry is better when there is fluidity between the media of movies, television, and gaming, to where, you like some things to be separate, but if you can have one licensed franchise that has, books, comics, novels, video games, television shows, movies, interactive this or this, it adds so much more lore and context and characters and fleshes everything out, and it makes it just an even richer experience. So I'm very happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool. Again, developed by the same team, different publisher. So again, I know people are angry about the whole Terminator Resistance thing, but different publisher. I mean, the problem is people blame developers when it's always the publisher's fault. Like Control, remember that? That had a full next gen version with no next gen upgrade that you could like pay for. You just had to buy a full next gen version. That wasn't
Yeah,
up to
505.
Yeah, that was 505's decision. Remedy had literally nothing to do with that, and that's the problem with some of these developers, or I should say games, is that the developers literally can't do anything. They are told what to do and how to do it, and they just have to do it. Like, look at
Yeah, roasted. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say, like, look at Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. That had an absolutely atrocious marketing cycle, and that was Square Enix's fault, not Eidos Montreal. But again, it's always on the publisher, not the developer. If the game is buggy, that's on the developers. But something like this, it's always the publisher. But what were you saying?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I
No,
was
it's
just
good.
gonna
Good.
say, yeah, 505 got their butt handed to them and dragged to the fire over it. and people were tearing them apart. And like there was this leak that ended up letting people actually download the free upgrade on PS5, and then they retroactively went out and sabotaged that, make it where it couldn't happen anymore. And then you have to buy to get this upgrade, and then um, everybody let them hear it, and then lo and behold, for Ghost Runner and several of their other games since then, they have not tried that cheapskate make you pay for an upgrade shenanigans again. They seem to have learned their lesson. Everybody was like, "You guys, listen here. This is complete and utter bull, and this is ridiculous and money grabbing, and I'm not gonna take it." And they heard you loud and clear, and they seem to have gotten it and don't seem to be doing that anymore. So that's why you always let them hear it. You be respectful, you don't name call, you don't be rude, but you be like, look, this is not cool and this is not okay. And using your voice matters, and that's an example of a company backing off and learning their lesson.
Yeah, I mean, look, like 505, they learned their lesson. You know, Reef Entertainment, if they ever cover games again or publish any games, they probably learn that again. But yeah, make your voice be heard and all that stuff. But you know, speaking of the whole licensed game situation, I kind of want to go into something else. So during the Xbox 360 generation, in that second half, there was a lot of time where I would just play Call of Duty with my mates. So there was a lot of there's a lot of video games I missed out on. You know, I talk about backwards compatibility all the time, and backwards compatibility has let me replay games I missed. You know, I talk about binary domain like every other day, and I was able to play that because of backwards compatibility. So like when they announced the backwards compatibility program in 2015, I thought, right, I can get to all these games I missed, and I've been able to do that for a ton of titles, and it's awesome. And there's two games in particular I've always wanted to play, never really got the ability to. And the thing is, they are hard to find. These are rare. This is Transformers War for Cybertron and Transformers Fall of Cybertron. These games are extremely rare on Xbox 360, especially in the UK. And I found copies sealed, pristine, clean, right? And I basically won the lottery with those two copies because I found them on Amazon. They were listed under Amazon, so someone in like the warehouse must have discovered a box with some copies and just relisted them on Amazon under Activision's like title name. Which, lucky for me, I got them. I got both games for I think combined price of £64, which I'd happily pay that again. But anyway, why am I bringing this up in 2022? Is that I was talking about licensed titles, and my only concern is that you know these Xbox 360 games, you can't buy them anymore digitally. You know they weren't available for backwards compatibility, and they kind of lost to time. All these licensed games from Xbox 360, you'll never be able to see again. You know the Wolverine Origins game from Xbox 360, absolutely phenomenal. It was actually better than the movie, which is rare, right? And people will never be able to experience that unless they go through other means, if you catch my drift. But all these licensed games are lost to time. You know, so many Spider-Man games on Xbox, you can't play them anymore because you know the marketing, or I should say, the video game rights went to Sony. And who knows? Maybe Sony's rights to Spider-Man lapse someday because they only own the movie rights to Spider-Man. But I'm seeing all these cool licensed looking games, or I should say, cool looking licensed games, and I just worry that for the future, like, what if these games get delisted? Like, have you ever thought about this at all? Am I just like overthinking too early? Because like that Terminator Resistance game, as much as they screwed over the Xbox fan base for the Xbox Series X version, like I don't want these games to get delisted someday. And I think it's odd that movies, like, they don't have to get delisted because of music. I can't remember the last time I ever saw that. Alan Wake in 2019, I believe, they had to delist Alan Wake because of like two songs, and then they had to relicense those songs so they can get back up in the store. Fortunately, there's a remaster as well now. But I don't know, what's your thought on the whole like licensed games being just completely taken off stores and not being able to play?
I personally hate it. I think it sucks, and I think it's a flawed system. Obviously, like like you, I'm a huge BC advocate. I wish every game that was playable on 360 could be, or OG could be playable on One or Series X or S. Obviously, that's just not doable, either technology wise or license wise, yada yada. I mean, in a dream scenario, we could play anything, but I still hold out hope. Maybe we can get a few more someday. But yeah, the license thing, if there's a game I like that's a licensed property and I really enjoy it and I want to ensure I have it, I either, buy a physical copy or make sure I get that digital copy on sale at some point. Because there have been several I have missed out on. And I'm really bummed that I missed out on. Like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, the remakes or the remasters. I missed them when they were on sale a few times, and now I can't get them for Xbox One because like they were digital only, I believe, and like they're just gone, poof. And those were really fun. And then you mentioned the Transformer games. You can't get those. There was like old Jason Bourne games, Jason Bond games, Captain America, Wolverine, whole bunch of Lord of the Rings games that weren't made BC. Uh, just the list goes on and on. Thankfully, we got all but like one or two of the Star Wars games. Thankfully, Disney and Xbox were able to work something out for pretty much 98% of those. But yeah, just so many really fun stories and franchises and things locked away behind some bureaucratic red tape nonsense. And the fact, like you said, it makes no sense to me. Like, um, you can buy, the Godfather digital copy for like in perpetuity. Like, it's always available. Like, oh, we have it on standard, and now we have it on Blu-ray, and now we have it on 4K, and then Ultra HD this or that. And you can always get these movies or these songs or whatever, but when it comes to a game, lo and behold, it has a different rule for some reason to where, oh, there's a car in this game, or this guy drank a Coca Cola, so thus it's licensed. And thus we have to yank it from the storefront after 5 years, and you can never get it again unless we pay some obscene royalty to some random company like half a click away that happens to have the rights to that specific thing. It's ludicrous and nonsense, and I think that's something the industry must fix. Otherwise, we're gonna have more issues like this Ubisoft thing that it looked like they tried to pull a fast one on some people with you know what I'm talking about, the Liberation game on Steam just randomly disappearing for people that owned it, and it was just inaccessible. It seems like that was a quote error after being discovered, and they said you will have access to it, but it raises serious concerns about digital ownership and what it means to actually have a game going forward.
You know, our next topic is about the Ubisoft stuff because I think it's a bigger problem than a lot of us think because, like you're saying, like Assassin's Creed Liberation, they were originally going to pull, or they are still pulling, the PC version, right? And you can't play that on Xbox. I don't think it's backwards compatible. I'm not entirely sure, but they pulled it from the store, and the original news was that, oh yeah, you won't be able to re-download it either. Well, turns out, you will be able to. But there is the remaster available out there on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC, and yeah, it's just weird that they were trying to pull it because the thing is, it doesn't cost them much money, if anything, to keep these games listed, and even other Ubisoft games are getting pulled for support, like uh, a, pretty much every single Ubisoft game that's backwards compatible on Xbox is getting pulled online support, meaning you will still be able to play these games, such as Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and things like Splinter Cell Blacklist. You can still play them, but you won't be able to do the co-op or multiplayer stuff, and it's just a shame. Like, you won't be able to buy DLC, apparently, for these games anymore. It's like, why? It's just, like, digital ownership is kind of messed up because this stuff keeps happening. And again, I love a lot of Ubisoft games. I think Splinter Cell Blacklist, it was a criminally underrated game, right? And they're going to be pulling online support for its best feature, the co-op missions. And yeah, I can't imagine that game makes much money, right? It's pretty much only available on Xbox at the minute and PC. But like it can't cost that much to keep these games up, if anything. And just pulling these mods, pulling support, pulling games from storefronts, it just seems weird. And like I don't know why this is keep happening. It should be like there should be some sort of standard to keep these games on these stores, unless they do really have to remove them just due to a license song or something. But I don't know, man. Like I think it was like 13 Ubisoft games they pulling online support for, even things like Rayman Origins. It's just bizarre, man, and it's just a bigger issue. And Microsoft recently low key announced that by the end of the year, we are going to stop getting Xbox 360 games for games with gold. And their reason being that they've kind of run out of games to give. And, I think it has to do with the similar issue. There's only X amount of games backwards compatible that Microsoft can offer. And the problem with that is that a lot of those companies that are still around don't want to get their games in the store. Like, if you notice, there's never been a Call of Duty game in games for gold, right? Ever. We've had one Battlefield game, but like in the early games with gold days, we were actually getting duplicates all the time for Xbox One games. It was only in like mid 2014 where we were actually getting different games every single month, and then when we got backwards compatibility, start giving us two of each. And I don't know what's your thought on the whole situation, because I kind of get it, because they've pretty much ran out of games they can give unless they have to give things like Activision and Square Enix like a lot of money each month for these games.
Yeah, I get it on one hand because there's only so many they can do. They're dealing with finite resources. About these are the titles that are eligible to be played again through backwards compatibility, and it's a list we have, and if they've already given out every single one that they can give out, and they don't want to. I mean, one option would be to hit the button again and restart or refresh and like give out some duplicates again, because you know newsflash, not every single person that's been subscribed to Game Pass Ultimate or Game Pass Gold or whatever has been there since the very beginning. So there have been some titles in the past that they've given out that a lot of people missed out on or didn't get the chance to get like that. But I mean, on the other hand, it'd be like, well, they're just repeating it, so why would they do that? So I get dropping it. I think it's a bummer because I enjoyed getting those, and you own those, the OG and 360 games they give you. Like, it's not just access to your library. Like, you legit own those for those titles. But maybe this allows them to give you or more quality Xbox One or Series XS titles, or maybe two really, really high quality ones. So maybe there's a world where it's a positive development, but I am disappointed, and it's kind of a bummer to me.
Yeah, I think like some duplicates, I don't think people would mind, because there's been the occasional game I've missed from the Xbox 360 ones, and I don't know, like I think there should be something else given. Like people remember on early on this year, people thought Microsoft were going to pull games with gold altogether. So, and people were actually excited for it. So we've gone from being angry about them pulling like, Xbox, I should say, pulling 360 games, but 6 months ago, we were talking about them ending the program altogether because of the quality. And, I think people on both sides of the fence actually have a point. Like, the quality of games have been low for a longest time. But at the same time, would that money make more sense going into, like, back into Game Pass? It's a weird situation, but uh, I think maybe they'll do something. Maybe offer a third Xbox One game or an Xbox Series game. But yeah, it's strange. I just hope these companies need to learn and just again, backwards compatibility. If we had endless amount of backwards compatible games, this wouldn't even be a thing at all. There's still Xbox original. Actually, I think they've given away most of the original Xbox games for backwards compatibility because there's only about, I think there's 50 original games that's backwards compatible at the minute. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, before we move on to the big rant of the show, the Square Enix rant, if you're enjoying the show, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications. It really helps the show out. If you want to support the channel, Super Chats are now live. It's all good. So Square Enix, a few weeks ago, had a Final Fantasy showcase where everyone was watching. There was over 100,000 people watching on YouTube, and it was a big event. They were going to show everything about Final Fantasy VII, with it being its 25th anniversary. Like, wow. Like, one, that makes me feel old. You know, that's an old game, but a classic. But anyway, everyone was watching because we thought that was going to be the place where they would announce the Xbox version of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and that didn't happen at all. They announced the sequel for PlayStation 5, and you think that would be it, right? You think, oh, the world would go back to spinning again and no one would complain, but the reaction online, I think, was worth it, because like the 2-year exclusivity period was up, and everyone thought this was the place. Like, if you were going to announce an Xbox version of a Japanese title, it would be on the world stage of Square Enix's big reveal event, and they didn't. And it's I don't think Square Enix knows how to do anything at all. Like, they blame studios for not meeting expectations when it's the expectations of Square that get them in the rough in the first place. Square Enix doesn't know anything about marketing titles. They bring games to Xbox either years later or bring sequels first, which make no sense. They don't know how to do anything. Like, have they made amazing games in the past? Absolutely. Like, but they sold Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, you know, all those IPs, like Soul Reaver, Legacy of Kain. They sold all those intellectual properties, plus Eidos Montreal and Crystal Dynamics for $300 million. That's like, honestly, I think Square Enix got ripped off with the price. Like they were worth way more than that. The Tomb Raider IP alone was pretty much worth that. Like, there's another movie coming out in the future, and it's like, I don't know, like, I think Square Enix just doesn't know what to do. And people say Xbox gamers don't buy Japanese games. We can't buy them if they don't launch on the bloody platform. We can't. We literally can't do it. But we see other publishers willing to put their games on Xbox. Look at Yakuza. Yakuza now has an active fan base on Xbox because they put Yakuza 0 in Game Pass, which made them play the sequels. And then when Like a Dragon released, people bought it. And Sega reported that the game made more money than any other Yakuza game. What a coincidence, because it was multi-platform. Of course it was going to make more money. But Square Enix, they didn't announce Final Fantasy for Xbox. And that was just a stupid decision. Like, apparently there is no exclusivity deal in place, right? So shouldn't they port the game over? And then they had the gore. They had the audacity to announce Crisis Core the Remake, a game that's set kind of in conjunction with the beginning of Final Fantasy VII and a bit of a prequel as well. They announced that for Xbox, Switch, and every platform in existence, your grandmother's microwave, everything. They announced that for Xbox. So we get the remake of the prequel and the game that runs alongside the storyline with the same character designs, voice acting, and all that stuff. We get that game, but we don't get proper Final Fantasy VII. In what universe does that make any sense? That has to be one of the dumbest decisions I've ever seen a publisher do, and I pay attention to EA. Like, what the hell? That makes no sense. And the thing is, gamers are now put in a weird predicament, right? Because there's a lot of gamers like me on Twitter right now wanting these Japanese games to come to Xbox because we can support them, and then that means we'd get more Japanese games. But we can't support them if they don't launch on the platform. So now we're putting this pretty much in between a rock and a hard place situation. Do we buy this game knowing it's either going to support Sony and, you know, the next Final Fantasy game on PlayStation and Square Enix and, you know, whatever PC port it gets down the line, or do we support it in the hopes of getting future Final Fantasy mainline games? Because remember, it was reported a few months ago that Square Enix had no intention of putting more Final Fantasy games on Xbox, But in that time, we've had the announcement of Crisis Core, the remake, and we also had Strangers of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origins released on Xbox. So which one is it? Do we get Final Fantasy games in general, or do we get the odd spin-offs? Because that was the stupidest decision I've ever seen a publisher do. Honestly, what are they thinking? What's your thoughts on this? Because you saw the reaction online. People lost it, rightfully so. And I think people should be polite all the time. But oh my god, what the hell were they thinking?
You know, this might get into conspiracy territory, but it honestly kind of just seems like, obviously, with the caveat that we don't have knowledge of business going on behind the scenes, yada yada yada, with these companies, it it almost seems like there is like a handshake agreement or something going on between Sony and Square Enix for Final Fantasy VII, to where under no circumstances does this game get on the Xbox platform. And we will pay you whatever obscene money you want. We will do this, we'll do the bend over backwards for this, and make these kind of side deals, or just whatever, to keep it to where it is solely and utterly focused on PlayStation 5. And that is it. You want Final Fantasy VII, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3 of the remake, whatever, you will only get it on PlayStation, because back in the day, a long time ago, we had it on the PS1 with Final Fantasy VII, the original one there, and it was hugely successful, iconic game, masterpiece, associated with PlayStation forever, and that's the way we want it to be, and that's the way it's gonna be. And it me it feels like there's something like that going on, instead of it just being that, or maybe they're just waiting for Microsoft to drop a colossal Game Pass bag of money on their front door, something like that. It feels like there's something else that just is not on the up and up, like not surface level, everybody sees what's going on type of thing. Because logically, like you've discussed, it makes no bloody sense. Like, why would you give them the prequel remake of the prequel that is also set side by side with the remake on Xbox and all these other platforms, yet don't let them have any hope or any sniff or a prayer of a chance to actually play the main game? This is like giving you Kingdom Hearts 3 at the end of the trilogy without Kingdom Hearts 2 or 1 or any of the others, and then eventually porting those. Or, letting you have the original one on 360, but then we won't even let you have it BC. But we're making a remake, and oh yeah, by the way, the remake or remaster isn't coming to Xbox. So thus, you got the original one, but you don't even get to play that again, or the remaster remake. And then you sell off Tomb Raider, Gex, Deus Ex, Thief, Soul Reaver, all those franchises and those good studios for $350 million, just punk kicking them out the door just to get them out of your hair, because you just don't know what you're doing with them. It's mind-boggling, just ineptitude, and it drives me crazy.
I just don't get it, man. Like I've ranted about Square Enix on these podcasts for about 80,000 times now, and it's got to a point where I'm not angry. I'm not angry about it. I'm just like confused. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, and the thing is, I never really thought like Sony's paying for, not just exclusivity, but just to specifically keep it off Xbox. Because someone on Twitter had a good point, that why would Sony be paying for these marketing deals if there wasn't an audience for Japanese games on Xbox? Like, that's a perfectly valid point. And the thing is, like, who knows, that game will probably end up at Switch at some point, but not Xbox. And the thing is, like, back in 2015, when Rise of the Tomb Raider was about to come out, exclusive to Xbox for 1 year. At that time, nobody knew, right? Yet Sony, apparently, you can research this if anyone's listening, like interested in it. Apparently, Sony were so like angry about that situation that apparently they were ready to lawyer up and find out what's happening about that game from Square. So they came out and said, "Oh yeah, it's coming to PlayStation at some point." Yeah, Final Fantasy, we don't know anything. We don't know diddly squat. Is the game coming to Xbox a year from now? 2 years? Is it coming to Xbox when the whole trilogy's done? Yet we expected to buy the prequel. Like, I just don't know what they're thinking. And it's bad marketing for them. Because as everyone was watching that event, people were adamant that, oh yeah, they're going to show the Xbox version. Like, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. And the thing is, Final Fantasy VII, anything would sell good on Xbox. Here's why. Final Fantasy VII is pretty much the most iconic JRPG of all time. It pretty much is, right? So people have reasons to be interested in it, no matter the platform. Doesn't matter if that game releases on Luna, Stadia, your grandmother's washing machine. Nobody cares. That game will do well. But just, it's not coming to Xbox. It's strange. I just don't get it. And Square Enix, again, the incompetent, like selling those IPs off, like Gex. Like, I can imagine a Gex reboot coming because of Embracer now, right? And by the way, Embracer expects to make that money back in 2 years, right? That tells me they're going to port stuff, remaster stuff, not stuff. And you know what? I'm going to give Embracer every bloody penny now. Even if I'm just mildly interested in it, I'm probably going to buy it now because I want Embracer to basically be way bigger than Square. And plus, that's not because I'm angry at Square. I'm angry, or should I say annoyed at Square, because they sold Eidos Montreal and Crystal Dynamics, two of my favorite studios, off for that little piece of money. Now, like, that's nothing compared to like the IP's worth. I don't know. Like, again, $350 million? That's ridiculous. Like, the movie rights alone should be worth that. It's just, you'd think a billion-dollar corporation like Square Enix would actually know what to do. There's people that have been clamoring for Persona on Xbox for years now. Years and years. And when that announcement happened, I've never seen the Xbox community so excited about JRPGs. Like, Persona got the Xbox community on Twitter lit. Like, everyone was happy about it. It was one of the biggest things announced for Xbox at their press conference. And people cannot wait for it. We get Persona 5 later this year, and it's also getting a physical edition. All DLC day one. But yeah, Square Enix, they have no idea what they're doing. They are useless. And the thing is, if they announce Final Fantasy VII Remake, for Xbox next year, that will sell through the roof. It guaranteed will, because it's Final Fantasy VII. It's not a game that they have to save for Game Pass, and I think that's what Square Enix are doing. They want Microsoft to foot the bill for, a Game Pass version, because Square Enix is worried about if it will make money or not. It will print money because it's Final Fantasy VII. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And the thing is, there's a lot of hype for Persona now, and a lot of people that have never had any interest in Persona have messaged me saying, hey, I watched the trailer, I think it looks cool now. What's it about? What's the gameplay like? Because people are interested now that it's coming to Xbox. Like, that's the whole point. They can have Atlas can have an active fan base on Xbox now because of that whole announcement. So people are going to buy Soul Hackers now because we're getting future, Atlas games by the look of it, and it's a good situation there. So Sega's learned, Atlas learned, but yeah, not Square Enix. They are dumb. They are very dumb. Do you want to say anything else on the topic before we move on? Because my God, Square Enix is useless.
Just that I hate it that it's come to this point, because like historically I've loved a bunch of their franchises that they've made over the years on Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1, GameCube, whatever. They've made some iconic games and franchises that I really did enjoy and like. And since I do also own a PlayStation 5 and Switch, I can still play them. It's just Xbox is my preferred platform, so I'd prefer to play them on that. And for those that are less fortunate and can't, have all the systems and just they're in the Xbox camp and that's just what they are, they're just screwed because for some reason they just do not Consider the platform the same as other companies, and like you saw Sarah Bond yesterday give a shout out to Spike Chunsoft and welcome them to the Xbox platform because they had their AI Somnium files that launched in that the first one was in Game Pass and it did really well and people have really enjoyed it. I've heard great things. And then they had Nonary Games bundle on there, and then Danganronpa 1 and 2. And they're starting to bring more of their games over to the platform now. The sequel to AI Somnium is out now. And it just shows, and then, like you said, with Sega and Atlas, these companies like, you know what? These Xbox people actually like Japanese games. And it's like, yes, we've been saying this the whole time. You just haven't given us any of them. But when you've actually put them on the platform, they sell well because people want to play them and want to buy them. And when they do come to the platform, people buy them and support them so that more will come because they want to show support. It it seems like a no-brainer situation, but then you get, this Twitter knucklehead marketing nonsense to where people are like, "Oh, well, Japanese games don't sell on Xbox." I'm like, that is complete and utter just not true because there are less of them on Xbox, so I guess if you want to say theoretically, statistically, there are less sales of Japanese games on Xbox than Japanese games on PlayStation or Switch, which newsflash are Japanese companies. But it's just I don't know, it's wild and nonsensical, and I think I'm glad that Sega and Atlas and Spike Chunsoft and some of these other companies like Nacon are learning that people care and want these Japanese games on the platform. And they, if you build it, they will come, like Field of Dreams. So I'm looking forward to the future with more of those. And the Persona thing was further proof that this got the Xbox community hyped.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully they do learn at some point because, like, Sega and Atlas have learned, and like I never thought in a million years Persona would get a physical release in the United Kingdom for Persona on Xbox. Like, I never thought that would happen, and it's happening. You can pre-order it right now at Game, but yeah, Square Enix, man, I just don't get them. Anyway, we'll move on. So Goldeneye, the elusive Goldeneye remake, which has been floating around since 2007. It's been sitting on a server for years, and randomly a few months ago, achievements go live, and people start testing the game. Well, a lot of people theorized that it would be at E3, or I should say Microsoft's Bethesda Xbox event, right? It made a lot of sense. The 25th anniversary of the game is in August, and it's an iconic title. And from what I've seen of the gameplay, it looks very good. 1080p, 60. I think they upgraded to 4K on series consoles, but like, it was a very good game back in the day. And anyway, there's been no announcement, and there's not been a whiff of anything. Well, just before we went live, Logan told me about this that due to the whole Russia Ukraine thing, it's kind of on hold indefinitely. So, what do you know about that?
Jeff Grubb the other day had a questionnaire and someone asked him like, "Hey, what's going on with Goldeneye?" And he basically said that game's done. It's been done. It's just sitting in limbo because of the Russian Ukraine thing. Because of optics, agree with them or not, there are optics about a game involving a Russian conflict and then Russia being, obviously their situation in Ukraine right now. And so just Microsoft, Nintendo, whoever's involved in it has just kind of thought it might be better to just let it sit for a while. And so it's just in limbo. Like it's done. And you saw the developers earning achievements on it. Like it's pretty much looks like it's ready to go. They could probably upload it if they wanted it to pretty soon. But I guess it seems at this point that it's one of those unfortunate things where it just what we want isn't technically sensitive at this time, so they just set it aside and um, either maybe bring it out during the 25th anniversary in August, or maybe this thing just goes on ice for a while until this conflict is hopefully resolved. But it sounds like it is done and it is a thing. It's just waiting.
You know the reasoning, I get it, right? Like there's a lot of stuff on hold because of the whole situation over there. I get it. Like them sitting on it. And by the way, if people want to see what it looks like, there's a whole playthrough on YouTube at the minute. It's a whole playthrough, and it looks really good. And like Goldeneye, like I don't think I think the younger generation may not realize this, but like Goldeneye was the second best-selling game on the Nintendo 64, and in a lot of cases, Nintendo 64 was a pack-in title with the console in some countries. So it's like the game sold well. That game came out in the Christmas. I think it was 2 years after the film released, so they didn't expect it to do well, and then it sold okay. And then the following Christmas, due to word of mouth, it sold more than its launch. And then the following Christmas, it sold more than the past two holidays combined. And then that continued with the third year, selling more than the past 3 years. And it's like, it's an amazing title. And it set a new gold standard for console first-person shooters. Because at the time, people were like, no, you can't get a first-person shooter to work on a console. You just can't. And they got it working. And it was amazing. And yeah, it's sitting on ice. It's done. It's done. There's achievements online. You can look at the achievement art. That's Xbox One achievement art, by the way. So, full 1080p screens. But yeah, so whenever this whole, situation is done, we'll get it. But that made me believe or wonder, how the hell are we getting Atomic Heart this year? It's a game set in...
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, it's a game set in an alternate kind of future Soviet Union, but it's been developed by a Russian studio, and from what I know, that video game studios in Russia can't make money from Xbox or sell games on the store. That's the same with PlayStation, Nintendo. I think they can still do that on Steam, but yeah, I don't know how Atomic Heart's coming out this year, because Microsoft's listed it multiple times now for Game Pass this year. Like, it's meant to release in between September and December, but as far as I know, the conflict's still happening. So how is a Russian studio selling a game when they're not allowed to sell it? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, maybe it would be kind of like a GOG situation, or they do a a certain I can't remember the game. There was a developer, I think a Taiwanese developer, who had made a horror game that was very politically charged. A Taiwanese horror game that was very political charged. It was like Red Candle Games or something, and like they got in a whole bunch of flack from the Chinese government, and basically Steam and GOG and other things had to yank it from their stores. But then eventually they were able to find a workaround. They were able to sell direct files of it to people via some other site of their own that they built up or something. So maybe something like that. But yeah, they're in a tight one right there. I'm surprised they just haven't just announced it as indefinitely delayed at this point.
Yeah, I mean, ever since I saw the title page at like Microsoft Showcase, I was thinking, well, how is that a thing? Unless they're getting maybe an outside publisher to like sort all that stuff out. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing: I've been looking forward to that game for years. I think it was originally announced in 2018, and it looks phenomenal. Like, if you like BioShock, you're probably gonna like this. And it's meant to come to Game Pass day one. Phenomenal looking game. But yeah, like, hey, I'm all for it. I want to play it, but like, and the thing is, I'm not going to blame people from Russia and like all that stuff for like what their government's doing. Like, there's good people over there. So the fact that they can't sell their own game, it's sad. But like, this proves that maybe they can now. I don't know. Strange situation, but hey, I want to play it. It looks amazing. If you don't know what Atomic Heart looks like, any listeners right now, Atomic Heart on YouTube, there's 4K footage, looks spectacular. And I think it's going to have like ray tracing and all that stuff. But yeah, I think we'll move on. It's a real shame. I hope it really does come out when it's meant to. Um, so Microsoft just recently announced that they're working with Samsung, and the app is coming to TVs, smart TVs. Now, this is really cool because xCloud works. Like I tested xCloud early on, and it wasn't really that good. It wasn't really that good, but now it's great. I use xCloud maybe once or twice a week, just because I don't really game portably. But like, with it being so hot, I've been gaming outside, and that technology works. I've been playing Fortnite on my phone for the Microsoft reward points, but I've been playing Forza on my mobile phone, and it looks great and it performs great. And my biggest shocker with the tech is that the resolution was dipping, but I wasn't losing like latency. Like the game was still working 1-to-1. So while there were times where the game was a bit pixelated, it was still performing at 60 frames perfectly. And have you used xCloud at all?
Yeah, I enjoy it. I have a backbone for my iPhone
Oh
that
yeah.
I've used and have used it on iPad and stuff as well, and I enjoy it. XCloud, I've done XCloud on iPad with a Series X Elite controller, or I've done on Backbone with my phone. It's gotten a lot better over the months from when they first launched it, and some of the games like you don't notice. Some of them are more intensive than others, so there's a little latency, but that's to be expected. And some titles is like, I mean, if you had told me it was native, I would have believed you because it was just fluid and there's touch controls on so many things. It's a great experience, and I know this probably. I don't think this was a topic, but like the idea that they're talking about making it to where you can stream games you own as well, potentially through XCloud, not just Game Pass titles. I'm looking forward to that as well.
Oh yeah, I think that would be brilliant because like people have been messaging. I talk about Microsoft Rewards a lot, and bear in mind if people listening that they aren't signed up to Microsoft Rewards, sign up to Microsoft Rewards, earn free money, pay for your Game Pass, buy games. It's amazing. Anyway, but with the whole XCloud thing coming in, it just reminds us that people have been messaging in the site like when they're in holiday, they've missed their like Xbox reward streaks. It's like if you were able to play all your games, even ones outside of like Game Pass titles, you'd pretty much never miss a streak because you'd be able to play anything basically. But that's good, and the fact that they're working on mouse and keyboard support for xCloud games, meaning you'd have access to the PC stuff as well, which is really cool. Now, the thing that makes that cool to me is that means you'd be able to play RTS games on an Xbox with a mouse and keyboard via xCloud, and that's how I'm going to get to play Total War on my Xbox at some point. But yeah, it's really cool tech. Like, and the fact that you're going to be able to play games on your Samsung TV without a box or anything. I still think there will be a streaming box at some point because not everyone has a smart TV or a Samsung TV. But yeah, it's cool technology. And when they announced that, I saw the doom and gloomers. Whenever it's about Xbox, people are all doom and gloom, saying that Microsoft's moving away from hardware. It's the end of the world. The end is nigh for Xbox. And it's like, it's not a replacement. Like, I've used the tech. It's cool. It's definitely not a replacement for a console. If you're going on holiday and you want to play a game on the beach, that would be cool. Play Forza on the beach, why not? But, like, as a replacement for the consoles, the technology isn't there yet. And you can't play your entire library yet. It doesn't make any sense. Like, the fan base wants the game on consoles. The hardcore gamers want a game on consoles. This is just an alternative way to play. Rather than have a secondary console in the house, you're just going to be able to stream your games. Like, I think people, and remember, I don't know if you remember this, Logan. Like, PlayStation used to offer this like similar situation. Maybe I think it was like 6 years ago or something. Like, you could play the PlayStation games on a PlayStation app on a smart television, but they removed that
Yeah.
feature.
Or you could use your Vita to play some games on the go.
Yeah,
That were PlayStation 4 games. I have a Vita, so I remember that.
yeah, and it's like whenever there's an Xbox topic about anything, instant doom and gloom. It's like it's a cool optional feature, and even Phil Spencer said himself, like this is just an option. It's not meant to be a replacement. Because think about it, if they had to replace all Xbox gamers, like consoles with servers, That's just unrealistic. People just want a game on console. Like, I will use xCloud again once or twice a week, or maybe 5 times a week, depending on the Microsoft reward situation. Um, but yeah, like, I think people need to calm down. It's cool tech, and if people have a smart TV that have this option with xCloud, please message me on Twitter. I want to know how it performs, because again, that will be different from the phone app and all that stuff due to latency and stuff. And if you have Ethernet plugged into your TV, well, that's going to be even better. But yeah, cool technology, and I think people are going to enjoy it. And there's a lot of new Samsung TVs coming out later this year, so yeah, cool stuff. Now we're going to talk about Rockstar games. Now, before I go into the topic, Logan, you pretty much know what I'm going to talk about, don't you?
GTA Online, baby.
Yeah. Like GTA Online's ruined everything, man. Like, so Rockstar,
Oh,
they pretty much came out and said like all hands on deck for GTA 6 and Red Dead Redemption Online. Or should I say Red Dead Online. They are not coming out with any more support. It's going to get small updates and stuff, but they are done. You know, GTA Online prints money, literally prints money, but not Red Dead. You know, Red Dead Redemption 2, one of the best selling games of all time. Not enough money to get support or get more teams on the game. No, 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 no. We don't get that. No. And the thing is, it's a bit sad. And the thing is, you know, I think GTA, and people can clip this, I think GTA 6 is at least going to come out in 2024. Minimum. I think it's more likely 2025. But, like, that game is years away. They've abandoned a game people love. The hashtag has been going around for the past 7 months, I believe. Save Red Dead Online. And, yeah, it's not happening. And it's sad because, you know, I think Rockstar make amazing games. Red Dead Redemption 2, GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption, you know, the games like always go back and stuff, but like their games are fantastic. But they are the least fan centric publisher slash developer in the entire universe. Like, if you look at anyone's Twitter, be any of Ubisoft's teams or Ubisoft themselves, EA, Warner Brothers games, they all make memes, talk to each other, have fun with the fans. Well, Rockstar Games doesn't do that. They are just, you know, oh, buy these new shark cards today. This new car is available. All this stuff, and GTA Online gets an infinite amount of support. They didn't announce that GTA Online support was ending. They didn't announce that. They announced Red Dead Redemption support was pretty much ending. So it's a shame, but like, I get that all hands on deck has to be for, you know, GTA 6, because like that game has a lot to live up to. It has to be as good as Red Dead Redemption 2 in my opinion. And if I see Los Santos one more time, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like like when GTA 5 came out for the next gen version, the trailer said "Welcome back to Los Santos" or San Andreas or whatever it's called, and my eyes rolled back into my head, because like we didn't leave. Like, we never left. Like, we've been there for 9 years. 9 years. Like, there was a time when we got multiple GTAs per generation, and now we're on the same GTA for 3 generations. I've just had enough, man. Like, this topic's not going to be long, but like, what's your thought on this whole like abandoning Red Dead Online for the infinite support of GTA Online and GTA 6?
Yeah, Rockstar is very cold corporate in their approach to things. They're very bottom line, and like, this is where the bukus of money are coming from, and this is where we're going to focus on. And if it pisses off a community or makes a community feel abandoned, then well, tough luck. They're just That just seems to be their approach. And I mean, yet people keep paying them and giving them so much money in droves. And like GTA just, you look at sales all the time, and the sales aren't gospel, but just GTA 5 is always in the top 5, it seems like, no matter what year it is. Like, ever since it came out, it is always at the top. People just keep buying their stuff. And then, they released the trilogy remaster, which was an absolute just abomination. Just burn it with fire. Just terrible. They fixed a lot, but it's still just not what it should have been. And then abandoning Red Dead Online is a real buzzkill for those fans. I'm not huge in the online communities on those anyway, so it's not like a personal thing for me. But I feel for those that do like it. And like you, I mean, come on, just set it in a different city, please. If you have to revisit some location, like do Vice City or maybe Liberty City again, like you did in 4. Just something different. No more Los Santos, please. Get out of California, somewhere else. Like I don't know. You could do Vegas even. I mean, Vegas would still be Western-ish. I mean, just they just can't be creatively bankrupt anymore. It's kind of like the joke where people say Star Wars has too many deserts. It's like that for GTA. It's like okay, we've seen this city literally 200 million times. Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, like I've mentioned this on the show before, and I've told you this. I was literally a GTA Online addict. I used to think about that all the time. Whenever I gamed, it used to be GTA Online, and I'd think about maximizing the amount of money I could make. And then I think it was like in 2015 or something. Like I realized I had to step back because I'm not even kidding. Gaming addiction can be real for certain things, and I was addicted to GTA Online. So I stepped back. I barely play the thing now. I maybe play it once every 6 months for an hour. But like I was addicted to that game, and I'm sick of Los Santos, man. Welcome back to Los Santos is the most annoying thing I've seen in a trailer ever. And the thing is, I loved Liberty City in GTA 4. I loved that huge, expansive city with the subways and all that stuff. But Los Santos, like I know that place like the back of my hand, you know. Like I know that place better than Durham. That's kind of sad, you know. And I've been wanting a new GTA for years, and like we just want something new. And yeah, I mean, and the thing is, the GTA trilogy sold so well, so bad apparently, or I should say, it performed so bad, is that they've cancelled the remaster for GTA 4 and GTA, I should say, Red Dead Redemption, which is kind of heartbreaking because I love GTA 4. I love that map. I love the story. I think GTA 4 is a better game when it comes to the story. And yeah, so they shelved them, and most importantly and recently, that they've shelved the next gen versions of Red Dead Redemption 2 for Xbox Series X and S and PlayStation 5. Heartbreaking because the game is already 4K on Xbox Series X and Xbox One X as well. But yeah, no 60 frames. And apparently, like Microsoft could have done a frames per second boost, but obviously that would be an obvious reason for Rockstar not wanting them to. But yeah, like it's kind of heartbreaking that we're not seeing next gen versions or upgrades for Red Dead Redemption 2 because that game came out in 2018. It's one of the best games ever made. It's phenomenal. I think more people need to play it, but the fact that it's 30 frames is holding people back. Like if you play a 60 frames per second game almost all the time and then you move back to a 30, it's jarring. You can see that stuff. It's sad. Like you've played Red Dead Redemption 2, right?
I actually have not played the second one yet, but I did absolutely adore the first one, and it's in my backlog.
Wow. Okay. Well, the second game is a masterpiece. Like I joke around on Twitter with this, but I actually mean it. There's three 10 out of 10 games of all time. There's Mass Effect 2, there's The Witcher 3, and there's Red Dead Redemption 2. And they almost play. Honestly, man, like I know you like 60 frames per second games as well, but if you're not bothered by 30 frames games, like play Red Dead Redemption. It is incredible. It's arguably one of the best cinematic games ever made. The story is phenomenal. Like playing that game makes you think, I want this Rockstar. I want this Rockstar to make more of this. You know, and it's like most games, you're playing it and you see the percentage of how much you've played, and it makes you think, okay, I've got X amount of hours to go. But that game just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The plot gets bigger. They add more game mechanics over time. There's like 112 main missions or something. It's like insane, and there's like all the side activities and stuff. Again, actual literal masterpiece of game design, storytelling. The characters are great. I'm trying to sell people on Red Dead Redemption 2 here, but it's incredible, and it's a shame that it's not going to get its next gen version at least anytime soon. My suspicion is that they will put that off for years so they can sell it, because I think it's too soon to charge people for it. Because Rockstar like to charge for everything. You know, the GTA Online for next generation, you have to pay for it. So I can't see them putting out a free upgrade. So I think they're going to wait till 2024, 2025, charge it as a remaster. That seems like a very Rockstar things to do.
Very much so.
Yeah, and the thing is, I love Rockstar games. They've made games I've loved since I was a kid. GTA 3 blew my mind. That was a fully realized 3D open world city. Like as a kid, I couldn't comprehend what was going on, and it was amazing. And then GTA Vice City and San Andreas, and even they made a table tennis game that was good. Like their caliber of game design and just game creation is like something else. And it just see them coming out with 2 games in 8 years, essentially, right? Like, I know these games top quality and they take time, but I don't know. Like, Rockstar Games is a combination of, I think there's like 6 different studios now. There's Rockstar North, Rockstar San Diego, and a few others. But like, surely we can get more than 1 game per generation now, because guess what? When we get GTA 6, we're going to be in our bloody 80s when Red Dead Redemption 3 comes out. Like, it's going to be, the year's going to be like 2073 or something ridiculous. But it's a shame, because I love Red Dead Redemption 2. And like Shiznoli in chat was saying, like, if the frames per second doesn't bother you, play Red Dead. Like oh my god, and it's hard to say it's a smooth 30, because 30 isn't smooth compared to 60, but it's an incredible game. Anyway, we'll move on. But yeah, people need to play that incredible game. So I was going to talk about the Bandai leak, but apparently it's been confirmed fake. Now, the thread about it on Reset Era hasn't been locked yet. So basically, there's been a Bandai Namco server breach, and all their data will be basically public either within the next few hours or days. It's inevitable at this point, and we will start finding out about their future projects and expansions. Now, the only reason I was going to make this a topic is that there was a thing listed for Elden Ring, and it was going to be called, excuse me, let me find it, Elden Ring Barbarians of the Badlands. Now, that sounds like an Elden Ring thing to me. And I know you finished Elden Ring as well, and I think a lot of people are clamoring for more Elden Ring content. Like, my plan was to take a break from Elden Ring before I New Game Plus it, but honestly, ever since I finished Elden Ring in May, I kind of can't stop thinking about it, because like that open world is just incredible. It's an amazing game. The combat in that game. By the way, for a future video, I actually went back to Dark Souls to get some footage, and I couldn't play it. It's so clunky compared to Elden Ring. And in my memory, like, as much as I love Dark Souls, in my memory, oh yeah, Dark Souls played like this. No. It's like moving around a brick on soap. It makes no sense. But yeah, Elden Ring content. But the thing is, the content listed in the leak, I'm doing air quotes, is Q3 2023. I don't know if that's real or not. Like, Logan, did you see the leak at all? Do you think it's real? Because Q3 2023.
Yeah, I saw the leak. There was also like Code Vein 2 and a whole bunch of other just random stuff, that Armored Core, a bunch of stuff that seemed like pure fan fiction. But to me, an expansion in next year doesn't seem that far fetched, considering how well the game is done. And that, there was already like arenas left, clearly, that they were going to do something with. They've talked about having additional content. So to me, it doesn't seem far-fetched that something later next year for some type of expansion could come out.
Yeah, I know, like, the developers said that they're coming out with, like, more media, so we're probably going to see a series off at some point, on animation, books and stuff, like Elden Ring. Like, I know I try not to talk about Elden Ring, because the problem with FromSoft games, people either zone out, walk away, or they're super interested. And I try to tell people, if you've never played a From Software game, start with Elden Ring. Like, oh my god, the co-op stuff, like calling people in for like getting through bosses. Like again, I'm gonna post all of my boss fights soon. It's gonna be like a 2 hour long video with all the bosses in order, and like you can see there's points in that video where I needed help. Like I was willing to call in other players for help, get a wizard in or something, someone that can cast magic, and they helped. You know, there was once or twice where they did 90% of the work, which I'm fine with. You know, um, but yeah, incredible game, and people want more content. But the Code Vein thing was interesting too because Code Vein 2. I know Armored Core's real. We had leaked screenshots back in January. Like that game is 100% real. There was Digimon Cyber Sleuth 2, which I mean, there's more Digimon games coming out, but people have been wanting the first one on Xbox. So the thing is, that leak looks so good because all these off-screen things always look a bit crappy, but the artwork looked so good it makes me believe it's kind of real in a way. But yeah, I'm just desperate for Elden Ring footage. Or I should say Elden Ring gameplay to come back because oh my, that game's so good. Like I know I'm rambling on about Elden Ring at the minute because my throat's sore and I'm just thinking about Elden Ring. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It might be real, might not. I'll post about it on Twitter if I find out otherwise. Um, we'll move on. Like, I really hope they post about Elden Ring soon because I really want another expansion. Or I should say a first expansion. Anyway, so while we've been off for 3 weeks, a game was released on Xbox and on Switch and on PC and all that stuff, cross-play, and it's called Fall Guys. You fall a lot and you play as little beans. Now, I wasn't really going to make a topic about this, but like I've been playing it every day, and I do not play multiplayer anymore. Like I don't know what it is. I may talk about it in a future video. Like for some reason, ever since I finished playing Titanfall, the first one in 2014, or might have been 2015 when I stopped playing it. Like I do not enjoy playing multiplayer, first-person shooter multiplayer for like extended time. Right? I kind of sat back and I'm thinking, I don't know what it is. I just don't play multiplayer anymore. That's why I couldn't get into Halo. It's because I don't enjoy multiplayer anymore. So I've been enjoying these different experiences. I've been playing Among Us. I've been playing Century Age of Ashes, which is a third-person dragon battling game, which I highly recommend people play. It's on Xbox Series consoles at the minute. It's also coming to Xbox One later this year. And it's an incredible game. Well, the Fall Guys is literally a third-person platformer where it's a battle royale at the same time, and there's tons of mini games and stuff. And I never thought I'd have so much fun playing it because that game has no skill gap. Everyone is on the same playing field. There's no one with any unique weapons or skins that give them like an advantage or anything. There's no pay to win elements. It is purely platform and skill. Like, have you played it yet?
Yes, I actually played it on PlayStation when it came out with PlayStation Plus when it was a free title for that month. So I played it for a while at launch, and then I fell off the wagon for a while. Now that it came to Xbox, I picked it up again, and I had forgotten how much fun it is. It's like a perfect game to have a podcast in the background, or you got something else you're trying to listen to, and you're just something mindless and goofy and fun that you can play with your family or by yourself. And it takes skill, but it's not like a hyper focused title. And I enjoy it. I think it's goofy, good fun.
Yeah, it's just like it's relaxing, but like I will admit though, there's been times where someone's pushed me off a ledge, and I've sworn so loud that the neighbors heard. Like, like I say online, oh, it's a relaxing, chill multiplayer game, but in real life, I've gotten so angry I wanted to rip someone's head off. Uh, and it's just purely platforming. You play as a little bean with a little smiley face and whatnot. But like, I love that game, and I think people need to download it. It got 50 million players in 2 weeks. That was the benefit of going multi-platform and also free to play. It's great. It's great fun. And the cool thing is that game made me realize even more how good cross-play is because I've been playing on my Xbox Series X and I've been playing with one of my mates who's on Xbox Series S, which is fine and all, right? But his partner, she's been playing on Switch, and we've all been playing on the same lobbies in the same party, all having a blast together. And it's like, that's what gaming's about. Like, playing as a little bean, jumping on platforms, swearing at other people. It's beautiful. And I don't know, man. Like, I know I say I don't enjoy multiplayer like first person shooters anymore, and I want to try and get back into it at some point. But like these different experiences are just giving me like so much joy. like I used to be massively into Call of Duty, Halo, and Battlefield all the time. But like ever since Halo Infinite came out, I've tried to get into it, and we'll talk about Halo Infinite in a minute. Like I cannot get into multiplayer first person shooters at all. I don't know what it is. And I used to be one of these people that had high KD ratios and stuff. It's amazing. Um, but I just want to talk about that because I thought it was really cool. And I've also got footage of Fall Guys in the background when it's actually playing here. But yeah, although I will say this, I'm not competitive at multiplayer at all anymore. But I will say this: when I got my first win, I think I turned into Doctor Disrespect for like a minute because like I was so proud of it. just playing as a bean in this game, and happy as fuck. Anyway, we'll move on. Speaking of Halo Infinite, right? People have been clamoring for co-op multiplayer, or should I say co-op campaign. That wasn't at launch, and we're being told it's coming soon. The flights are starting soon. I think that the flights may have started today. I'm not entirely sure. Have you played it at all? Any of the flights at all?
I haven't done the flight personally, but I've been tempted to sign up for it because, like many, I was very, very, very disappointed when co-op wasn't available at launch for the game because co-op legendary runs are like a core tenet of the Halo experience to me. So it felt like a big chunk of it was ripped off. And so the fact that they're finally getting around to it and they're making it to where you can test online, and then eventually local co-op split screen will come eventually as well. But I'm just glad we're finally getting to where it seems like content is starting to trickle in a little bit. Because we kind of had our 40 years wandering in the desert kind of like dry spell where it's like, oh my gosh, like there is nothing new happening with this game. And then, we got two new maps and some new modes, and they're slowly adding some stuff, and now co op, and then Forge, and then that Project Tatanka whenever that comes out, and then some other stuff. So things are going in the right direction. They still got to fix their store, get that together, and some other stuff. Overall, it seems like things are going in a positive direction for Halo as of right now.
Yeah, it's looking good. And the thing is, like, I've been saving a new playthrough to go through in co-op with a mate. But like, they posted screenshots. It looks good. It looks like what you expect from a Halo co-op, gameplay. But it's good that they're getting all this stuff out. I know it's taken 343 a long time to get this stuff together, but as we've seen with like other developers, like this whole working from home thing for 2 years really affected people. Like pretty much every industry, but like when it comes to making video games, like we think about it like this, we would have had Hogwarts Legacy and Gotham Knights by now if it wasn't for the pandemic. Like that makes me angry in itself because I talk about those games all the time. But like we actually gonna see like just more Halo content coming, and you play the Halo multiplayer, and it looks like we're gonna start seeing more of that later this year. But like I know people are saying that Halo's dead. It's not dead. It just needs more support. And like you mentioned the store thing, I was noticing the same thing about the store on Fall Guys. There are skins in Fall Guys that cost about £10. Now, as someone that doesn't buy microtransactions, £10 to me sounds a bit much for a digital skin. I'm not paying £10 for a hot dog outfit. It's not happening. And if it's similar prices in Halo Infinite, I get why people might be annoyed. Again, $10 or £10 for me, I think that's a lot of money for a single skin for a character. That stuff will get better. I think these companies just need to learn to price stuff better. If you have a lot of items in the store and they're cheaper, people are more likely to buy more of them. That's simple business. But yeah, cool stuff that we've got the co-op stuff coming. And one of the last topics I want to talk about is the Activision stuff. Now, the Activision Blizzard deal has been going slow for a while, and it's the summer months. Nobody's really talking about much, but like the UK is now investigating the deal, and a lot of people are making a big hubbub of the situation that they're never going to let it through. This is the normal for any transaction like this. They investigated when Disney bought Fox. and all of Fox's content, it's a normal thing. It happens, and it's likely to go through, and it looks like it might go through sooner than later. Like, what's your thoughts on this whole Activision thing? Because I know you've been following a lot with the whole US stuff.
Yeah, the UK investigating it isn't a concern to me. You know more about UK politics than I do in government agencies. I'm more familiar with US, but to me that just seems standard protocol that of course they'd look into it. You know, not every day you have a 70 something billion-dollar purchase of media and media merger and acquisition. So, of course, they're going to look into that, especially when the UK has been having some watchdog groups and some other stuff really hammer Apple and Google and some other companies for some of their practices and their, like just the other day there was the thing about the chargers. Like they're making regulations about you can't, rip people off with these chargers and ports anymore. You have to make it where there's a universal thing. And so it doesn't surprise me they're looking at it. And in the fine print on one of the statements they put out, they said that they're going to have their feelings resolved on it by the 1st of September. It said that they, whether it's an issue or not, they will let it be known by September 1st. So, at least for the UK side of things, they're going to get this going pretty quick. For the US, things are going really well, it seems like. You're hearing lots of good things that one of the groups that originally opposed the deal is now 100% behind and supports it. A group that had written the FTC and some senators in the past about we have concerns about how this is going to affect labor or workers' rights and unionization and employment and monopolization of this and this. They had written them before, and now they written them again, saying our concerns are no longer valid. We have talked with Microsoft. We now realize that this is the best course of action for these workers in this. We have gotten binding arrangements with them in writing about how they're going to operate and do things going forward for their employees. So, to us, this is the best option, and we 100% support it and think you should as well. So, on the U.S. hand of things, at least, it seems like things are looking pretty rosy at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's going to go through in the UK. Like, it's just like standard stuff over here. And there's a lot more important things going on in the UK at the minute that I don't think they'll be like too upset over when it comes to like Microsoft buying Activision. And here's the thing: I think it would be in like the negative favor of like Microsoft not being able to buy them. Like if Call of Duty was announced to be exclusive to just Xbox, I don't think the deal would go through at all, because Call of Duty is too big and it's on too many platforms. It's on mobile. Literally, tens of millions of people play Call of Duty. So I think like the deciding factor on all this is Call of Duty, because think about like when Singularity is like, let's say Singularity 2 is going to be a thing. I don't think anyone really cares, really, like the masses, if that's platform exclusive or not. But Call of Duty, that's a household name. Your grandmother's cat knows about Call of Duty, but they don't know about Singularity. So I think it's going to go through again this summer. And the thing is, if this comes to a close sooner rather than later, it's better for the developers. The workforce at Activision Blizzard, they treat like crap. The stories have been out for the past year or so now. It's terrible working conditions over there. Microsoft, they are one of the best places to work at in the United States. So I think it's in their favor. I think it's going to go through, and I think honestly, I think we'll hear about it, the whole deal going through by Christmas time. I really believe that, because it seems to be in such a positive position with certain people changing their mind and stuff. But yeah, it's a good deal. I think it's going to go through by the end of the year, and I can't wait because I want to see their studios get put on other projects. Because again, was it High Noon Studios and Rave? is it called Ravenfall? I've been thinking about Hogwarts Legacy so much I've got names mixed up.
Raven Software and
Raven
High Noon
Software.
Studio.
Yeah, Raven Software. Uh, I was thinking Harry Potter for some reason. Anyway, Raven Software, like get them on Singularity too. You know, get those IPs out there. You know, even Phil Spencer's said in the past that he wants things like Crash Bandicoot to come back properly and Guitar Hero and all that stuff. Like, I'd be down for that. We need Guitar Hero to come back. In my opinion, I loved Guitar Hero back in the day. But it
100%.
it's looking positive in my opinion. Again, I did business at college, but I'm not exactly someone that could say 100% that this deal is going to go through. But it looks good. And last thing I want to talk about is that Microsoft's having a slow year when it comes to their first party content. They're coming out with the Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels expansion this year. It looks very good. I can't wait to play it. And some people are arguing online and stuff, but like the reason it doesn't bother me and you don't see me get angry about it on Twitter is because I look at all the games coming this year and all the games I want to play, and I can't really complain because the way I view games is the game coming? Is it coming to the platform I prefer? Nice. I don't really look at a platform and go, what exclusive is this getting? Made by which developer? And is it AAA? Like, I don't think like that. Like, people that follow me and listen right now, you know that I'm a positive person. So when I say that A Plague Tale Requiem, the sequel to A Plague Tale Innocence, the game I loved, is not only coming this year to Xbox Series consoles, it's also coming to Game Pass day one. That, to me, gives me a little bit of endorphins going on. I'm like, oh, that little, happy brain chemical. That's nice. And to me, that's cool. There's other games coming out this year. There's a ton of games coming out this year I'm looking forward to. There's Hogwarts Legacy, there's Gotham Knights, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, A Plague Tale Requiem. Tons of games, High on Life. The list goes on. Warhammer 40k Dark Tide. I don't... I think Microsoft would have been in a better position for the fans, for themselves, everything, if they had more first-party games this year. Like, I think that goes without saying. But I can't sit here and be angry about something when I'm getting tons to play this year. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree. Like, on one hand, would you prefer their first party to be firing on all cylinders and have some big titles coming this fall? Absolutely, you would. I mean, in an ideal world, they would have a couple games, 2 or 3 games coming this fall that would be big time, and everybody would be talking about heading into the Game Awards, yada, yada, yada. It just, the past few years have been a little complicated around the world. And then there's, development and just strategy and, acquisitions, all these other things they've been dealing with to where it's just not lining up right now. But looking ahead, next year is going to be stacked. My word. Redfall, like, I am more hyped for Redfall now than I was when it first debuted, and I thought it looked pretty cool then. Like, the fact that I like Left 4 Dead. I love it. It's one of my favorite games ever. And I love Arcane's games, Prey, Dishonored, all their games that they've made. But the fact that it's not a Left 4 Dead game and it's more like a hybrid type game to where it's like you can play it as a Borderlands multiplayer looter shooter type thing with a group, or you can play it as a more traditional Arcane experience by yourself and make it kind of almost more like a horror game. Because, vampires ripping people apart and you're in some coastal city, poorly lit, going in some church attics or gas station parking lots and being attacked by monsters. That seems like a scary kind of intense game to me. That sounds awesome, and especially with Arcane's world development and their sim ability to make these worlds feel alive. I'm super pumped for that. And then Starfield, of course, and all these other titles coming, Forza, Motorsport Reboot, and other stuff we just don't know about yet. So, yeah, I know there's always the meme and the joke of just wait, or next year, but literally next year, it's when the cavalry will have arrived next year, and then everything will be firing on all cylinders, and it's all systems go. And like you said, there are so many other games like in my backlog and coming out from independent studios or publishers that I'm interested in that I wouldn't even really have much time for those right now anyway. So, all in all, I'm happy camper.
Yeah, I mean, some people that, troll will listen to this to try and find me defend Microsoft. It's like, no, I'm not trying to defend Microsoft. It's the fact that I'm a realist. Like, Starfield is 2023 now. Me getting upset online does nothing. It just makes me look like an idiot. Literally, me whining online does nothing. And I don't really get angry about video games. I just roll my eyes if something annoys me. I move on. Now, again, Radiance96 said in chat, it's better to delay than crunch the devs. Look, that's true. The thing is, we've seen and heard so many stories about crunch. It's like hurt developers. Like, it's made people like really depressed and stuff. Like, it's not right. I'm all for pushing a game out there. And here's the thing: whenever this crunch thing pops up, some people actually defend crunch and go on about how other studios can get games out. I think Starfield being a open world RPG where you can explore 1,000 planets, that sounds pretty ambitious to me. It needs time. The fact it's not coming out this year, yeah, it annoys me, but I can't get angry about it. I'm a realist. I understand why it's being delayed, and I have to move on with it. I can't complain about it. And me complaining about it does nothing. It just makes me look weak. And the thing is, there's tons of games coming out this year. Again, I talk about Gotham Knights and Hogwarts Legacy constantly because I can't wait for them. Gotham Knights looks so good. And Hogwarts Legacy, we've never had an RPG like this before. Not on this scale. And I can't wait. And there's tons of games coming to Xbox this year. And there's going to be more games announced for Game Pass over the coming months. So I think people, in my opinion, just chill. I would have preferred Starfield this year. Hell yeah. I've been looking forward to Starfield for years. I've been looking forward for more sci-fi RPGs. But me whining about it on Twitter and podcasts doesn't do anything. At all. If anything, it probably bores listeners. I'm just trying to entertain people and give people informative news and my opinions. And my opinion is, yeah, it's annoying. But nothing I can do about it. I'm not going to write a petition to say that they can, should release it early. That's not realistic. Anyway, just wanted to get that little rant out there. Again, I would have preferred to have Microsoft have, more games this year. But when it comes to all the games coming this year, my gaming time is kind of stacked. And in fact, the fact that there's so many games coming this year, I have to try and get them finished before Starfield even comes out because I'm sick of having a backlog. But yeah, it's been a good show. It's been good having Logan back on the show because, again, we've been away for 3 weeks. You've been sick recently and you're feeling better now, yeah?
Yeah, I'm feeling much better now. I'm glad to be back. I missed everybody, and this is always a highlight of every week. So I'm really glad to be back, guys.
Yeah, and it's been a good show. And everyone in chat has been great. We've had the occasional, porn bot, but that happens to everyone, unfortunately. But again, thank you for everyone watching. I'll post a link on Twitter soon. We will be back next Tuesday with more topics and stuff, and even some of the topics we had to miss out for the show. But yeah, it's been good. If you enjoyed the show, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications to be notified for my next video. My next video is actually coming out this week, which I've actually had on ice for maybe 2 weeks due to, claims and stuff, due to fraudulent companies and stuff. But everything's all good. But yeah, that video comes out this week. I'm back to weekly videos as well as the weekly podcasts. If you want to support the channel, we do now have super chats on live videos. But again, we'll be back next week. And yeah, I hope everyone has a good day. We are out. Peace.